Am I the butthole for wearing a white lanyard and patch while walking out of a wedding? I, 19 male, work as a mechanic, and our uniform is a set of blue pants and a blue shirt, but our company's name is on the side and it is white with green accents, and I have a white lanyard for keys and stuff, and the lanyard part hangs out of my pocket. As for the story, I was recently invited to a family friend's wedding that I was kinda forced to go to, and during the reception I get a call from a coworker asking if I could come in a little earlier than I was planning to make up for him. He's made shifts up for me several times before, so not only did I owe him, I didn't really want to be there anyway. I quickly changed, told the groom, the family friend, and he thanked me for coming and I left. His wife did look a little mad or annoyed at me, but I had to go, so I didn't really care. Later I get a text from my sister telling me I pissed the bride off and that she was mad I was wearing white. I was confused and said that the patch was the only part that was white. She said that the bride said the lanyard was too. I said that I just said bye to the groom, and wasn't there for very long, and that it was so small. She said that the rest of them were mad at me, and I did get a quite strongly worded message from the bride later. I told her she was being ridiculous as there was such little white it shouldn't matter at all, and that it was just at the reception. She told me that I was being ridiculous, and some other family members / family friends are siding with her since it was her wedding day, and I'm starting to think I'm in butthole since the invites did say no white very specifically, and I guess I could have changed in my car, or anywhere else after leaving, or I coulda apologized to try and soothe the situation. Am I the butthole? Duh. You didn't wear white to the wedding, you wore it to leave the wedding as you were called into work. OMG, tell Bridezilla to get over herself. What you were wearing is in no comparison to wearing white to someone's wedding. Not even a little bit. Maybe she was stressed, maybe she's just a Bridezilla, probably both. But you did absolutely nothing wrong. And anyone who is agreeing with her are just as ridiculous as she is. Not the butthole. You weren't wearing a white dress or a jacket, that reaction is just insane. Not surprised you didn't want to go there. Am I the butthole for not taking care of my step-siblings on my own for a week? My dad, 55 male, asked me, 19 female, to take care of my step-siblings, F14-ish and M6, for a week while he goes on holiday with my brother, 17 male. When I asked if I could come with, he said he didn't want me there. He asked me instead to take care of my step-siblings in a rented house for a week. I don't have a car, I live in an area where there is no public transport and it is not safe to walk alone. I don't have any friends that can help me. My dad doesn't want my sister, 18 female, around them even though she offered to help. My mom is out of the picture. Their mom, 30 female, is not allowed to see them on my dad's orders, and I barely know these kids. I met them when I was 17, then left for uni 5 months later. Even if I did say yes to looking after them, all I could do realistically is sit around in a house with them. I can't take them out. I can't do anything in case of an emergency. But my dad leaves in 4 days, and when I said I couldn't do it, he told me he was disappointed in me and that he would remember this when I came to him asking for favors. This made me feel guilty and especially freaked me out because he pays for my uni. My sister said I shouldn't feel guilty and that they're not my kids. My brother instead said I was putting stress on my dad before their vacation and I should just do it and stop making everyone else's life difficult. I don't know. Am I the butthole for not taking care of my step-siblings for a week? TLDR, my dad wants me to take care of my step-siblings for a week while he goes on vacation. I can't I can't even provide them with basic necessities. Also, I just don't want to. Am I the butthole for not taking care of them? Not the butthole. So just to confirm, the brother that's going on vacation with your dad is telling you to stop making life difficult and babysit? Nah, so your dad made these vacation plans without figuring out who was looking after his own children? He sounds mean enough to take away your university funding, so I guess you need to protect that, but he sure isn't doing this right. I'm so sorry. Info: why is he taking just your brother? Has he always played favorites? Not the butthole. Your stepsisters are your dad's responsibility. He can ask you to take care of them as a favor, a huge favor that is, but he can and should not make it your problem. Nor should he try to guilt trip you. Furthermore, you've told him you are unsure about whether you will be able to take proper care of them, for example during an emergency. That's a genuine concern that he should take seriously. Instead, he seems more concerned about the holiday. Not the butthole, and there's so much wrong with this I don't even know where to start, to be honest. You're not even equipped to handle 2 kids, ESP over Christmas. Is the 6-yo upset because your dad is leaving him for Christmas? You mentioned Christmas, so I'm assuming that's your holiday. HTF, are you expected to do this? Your dad is a huge butthole. But I am gonna warn you to prepare him to withdraw all financial support if you say no. Because that's exactly what an all like him is gonna do next. I'm so sorry. Am I the butthole for not reacting to a stranger's compliments and slamming the door in his face? So I, 38 female, am experiencing a rough patch in my life. I'm homeless, so my place of residence is a pet-friendly hotel. It isn't easy, but my son 21 male, Jade, and I get to keep our cats together. The hotel has free breakfast every morning. Jade was asleep, so I decided to get food by myself. I've got food before with no issues before and is typically peaceful. At least, until today. I was eating my bagel when a young man passed where I was sitting and sat by the other table next to me. He said hello with a bright smile. I didn't know him, but I said hi back and went back to my food. I think he took it as an open invitation, but he didn't say anything. He just ate and was half looking at me. I was very uncomfortable. It got to the point that I decided I wanted to go back to my room, so I threw out my breakfast. We aren't allowed to take it back to our room, and started to walk back. As I was walking back, I heard a cough and looked over my shoulder. It was the same guy. He was following me with a swagger-like walk. He gave me this weird alluring look and even said, "Hey beautiful." I was terrified. It was in the morning, but there was no one else in the hallway. I walked quicker to my door and opened the door. He tried to walk after and tried to say excuse me. But I was faster and quickly entered my room, slamming the door in his face. I was shaking and borderline hyperventilating. I haven't seen him back, but in sharing the story, I've got mixed stories from friends that said I was rude to cut him off. I'm starting to feel like maybe I overreacted. Others also say I did the right thing to have moved as I did, but I don't know. Maybe I should have waited and heard him out? Am I the butthole? Not the butthole girl. Hello, no, you aren't the butthole. A stranger starting at you while you're eating is creepy, period. Your friends don't have your back. He's a stranger, he's not entitled to you or your time, therefore it's not rude to slam the door after he followed you and tried to shove himself into your room. You were being too nice. I would have drop kicked him the second he stepped within 10 inches of that doorway. Not the butthole. This guy sounds creepy, and like he lacks any kind of social boundaries. What would make a guy think it's okay to follow a woman he doesn't know to her room? Not the butthole. Your friends who think you have a duty to be polite to a stranger who is clearly following you are Oz of the highest order. That's how women get hurt, because they're socialized to think they have a duty to be nice to men, even men who are pushing their attention on them when it's not welcome or encouraged. Am I the butthole for telling my sister to stop messaging my girlfriend asking for free art lessons for her daughter? I've never posted to this subreddit before. I normally just lurk skeptical. Sorry if I miss any important details. I, 22 male, live with my girlfriend Jess, 22 female. Jess does a lot of artsy crafty type stuff as a hobby. Drawing, painting, watercolors, etc. She has a huge collection of art supplies. I know that some of her stuff is really expensive and high quality. While Jess went on a girls' trip with her friends, I had some family members over for a movie night at the flat. I realized some of Jess's art supplies were sitting in the living room, so I went to go put them away. My niece Abby, 9 female, saw the art supplies and got all excited and asked if she could draw. I told her that they belong to Jess and she's not here to give permission, plus some of her art supplies are expensive. So no. Abby just accepted it and didn't argue. My sister Eva, F30S, got a bit annoyed and made some passive-aggressive comments implying that I'm being touchy and overprotective of the stuff around the home. She made comments like, "Jess isn't here to give permission, I guess we can't sit on the couch." I ignored it. The next day, Jess shows me some messages she got off Eva. Eva told her what happened with Abby at the flat, and said that I was being ridiculous. She basically told Jess that she needs to get over herself and that she needs to support budding artists. Jess told her she was being unreasonable and that I was just respecting her belongings, and explained that some of her art supplies are indeed very expensive. Eva really didn't like that, and said that she should teach Abby how to use the expensive supplies and that it's her duty to mentor younger artists. Eva kept pressuring Jess into teaching Abby art stuff even though Jess didn't want to. I got really angry just reading the messages. I called Eva and told her to stop messaging Jess about it and leave her alone. Eva protested and told me that she's just looking out for her daughter and the future of art. I told Eva to piss off and stop pestering my girlfriend. Eva started crying, then hung up the phone. She blocked me on everything shortly afterwards, and later that day I get very angry messages off of my parents, telling me I'm bullying Eva and that I need to apologize for being so mean. First off, not the butthole. It never ceases to amaze me how some folks can dish it out but they can't take it. Sounds like your sister wants what she wants and expects others to accommodate that. She tried to bully your girlfriend and, when you wouldn't put up with it, finally telling her to back off, here come the waterworks. She kept pestering your girlfriend, so apparently she wouldn't accept a polite no for an answer, so you had to deliver a more forceful response. If she had respected your girlfriend's answer, she needn't have been told to piss off. Sounds like she can be a drama queen. Not the butthole. Not the butthole. Your parents need to understand what bullying behavior is. Eva is bullying behavior. Not the butthole, but I get the feeling Eva has misrepresented the situation to make her look like the injured party, such as being selective with the context. Explain the full picture to your parents, and if they still think Eva is the wronged on, that's on them. The irony is that if Eva hadn't harassed Jess, Jess might have been more open to doing some art stuff with Abby. Not the butthole. It's not Jess' responsibility to support budding artists. If Eva's daughter wants to be an artist, then Eva should sign her up for art classes and buy her own supplies. As an artsy person myself, some of my supplies are insanely expensive, and I would absolutely not be okay with kids using them. I'm happy to help my nieces/nephews do crafts, but with supplies that are bought by their parents/cheap ones I supply, and aren't expensive materials that will cost me a lot to replace. Would I be the butthole for wearing a hot dress? Tonight is my husband's 30th birthday party. I'm throwing him a medium-sized get-together at a room at his favorite restaurant. Family and friends will all be there. It's taken a lot of planning, but the big day is finally here and I'm excited. Just one last thing. He really wants me to wear his favorite dress. He made it a special request, in a fun way, not weird. I want to make the night special for him, but this dress is low cut, it's short, it's tight. Nothing outrageous, but something I'd wear to a fancy night out or a club, not necessarily around his family. His brother's wife has become aware that I'm planning to wear this dress, and she sent me a text discouraging me from doing so. I was put off by this, we don't get along well, and told her thanks, I'll think about it. She's texted me again, asking if I'm wearing it, and honestly, it's making me want to wear it out of spite. I let her know I don't want to discuss this any further. Am I the butthole? Am I overthinking this for hesitating? The second choice dress is cute but not that sexy/hot. I want the night to be as nice as possible for him, and it's a special occasion. Not the butthole. If your husband has requested it, I don't see the problem. Sounds like Sil is jealous of your figure. Not the butthole. I think you have to wear it. It would be the nice and polite thing to do because he asked nicely for his birthday smile go rocket. Am I the butthole for not wanting to give my brother my PS4 for Christmas? I, 25 female, have wanted a PlayStation my entire life, but never got one because they're very expensive. Of course I've wanted the PS5 since it came out, but I can't afford it. My mom knew I wanted one, so she floated the idea of asking family members to pull money together, but I'd still have to come up with a couple $100 and pay for the accessories. I was seriously considering it. Then, my friend gave me his PS4, for my December birthday, that was only a couple months old because he just got a PS5. I was thrilled. When I told my mom, she said she'd already told everyone in the family to gift me money for a PS5. I told her it wasn't necessary, but she said I should still get the PS5 and give the PS4 to my 10-year-old brother. I asked her if I still had to pay for a chunk of the PS5 and she said yes. I asked if my brother would be getting a normal Christmas on top of me giving him the PS4 and she said yes. It's important to mention that my brother is horribly behaved and if he was my kid, he'd barely get anything for Christmas. That's how bad he is. He's also very mean and disrespectful to me. He constantly puts me down. He'll say things to me like no one will ever want to marry you. You'll end up alone. He says crappy things about my dad that he's never met. We're half siblings. He insults every interest of mine. And he's also called me a jackass and a jerk before. He calls me names because I don't put up with his behavior. He's said hateful things that have reduced me to tears many times. It's been hard these past 10 years because I've watched him do whatever he wants while I was a very well-behaved child. My mom says it's because he's a boy and this is how boys act. To top it all off, my brother has much more than I did growing up. He has the name brand clothes and shoes. He has 2 Nintendo Switches when I never got the Nintendo DS I asked for every Christmas. He's very spoiled. He's already getting a ton of Christmas gifts, including a Yamaha keyboard which I also asked for as a kid for years and never received. My mom doesn't really gift me anything anymore because money is tight and Christmas is for kids. This wouldn't bother me if this hadn't been going on for 10 years and if he behaved better. So, I was upset when my mom said I could get a PS5, as my only birthday and Christmas gift because I didn't get any birthday gifts from her, if I could cover a part of it and pay for the accessories, but that I should give the PS4 to my brother because I got the PS4 for free and he would love me forever. I called everyone in the family and told them I didn't want a PS5 anymore and now my mom is accusing me of being selfish and unfair. I really thought I had a fair point. Am I the butthole? Edit. I think it's also important to mention that I really don't have a couple extra $100 to cover the additional money for a PS5 right now. You're 25. You don't need to let your parents tell you what to do with your possessions. Not the butthole. Not the butthole. If she wants PS4 for her son, she could buy it off you so you have money for PS5. But she has no right to lay claim on your property. Not the butthole. You wanted a PS4 and you were gifted one by a friend. You should not be expected to help pay for your own Christmas gift that you no longer even need. Not the butthole. Your mom tried to guilt you into keeping your original present because she didn't want to call people to tell them the situation has changed. You let people know since she wouldn't. That doesn't make you the at all. Neither does deciding not to give away your stuff. It's yours. Also, if she thinks Christmas is for the kids, then she's contradicting herself by trying to control your gifts. Am I the butthole for insisting my wife store her medication out of the reach of our daughter? My wife has been sleeping in our 4-year-old daughter's room while the other bedroom is remodeled, and she has a tray she stores all her meds in. Ranging from Aleve and birth control pills to powerful antidepressants and anxiety medication. About 15 different medications in all. She's always been careless with her pills. I frequently will find loose ones on the ground or in laundry hampers. Not to mention laying in the tray she stores the medicine bottles in. The problem is she keeps it on top of a dresser in my daughter's room, and my daughter can easily reach it. Compounded with the fact that every morning and night she takes all of these pills in front of our daughter, and the little one is really into imitating us and doing the same things we do, and I'm really uncomfortable with all these drugs being stored the way they are. Child-proof bottles or not. I've asked her before to move them to the upper shelf in the bathroom linen closet and she said she would, but hasn't done it. It had been several weeks, and last night I calmly told her that either she needed to move her meds that night or that I would do it for her. Didn't yell or call her names, didn't swear or anything confrontational. Her response was a bunch of gibberish about how I shouldn't be calling her a bad mom and that the pills are fine where they are because our daughter has never tried to play with them before. I repeated my offer to move them for her if she didn't want to do it and she said she would do it, then didn't talk to me the rest of the night. Well, this morning I go upstairs to get my daughter dressed and see the goddamn pills still in the bedroom. So I moved them to the bathroom closet. She's gonna be pissed when she gets home and I don't care. Am I the butthole for insisting she move her pills away from the reach of our 4-yo? Not the butthole, what she's doing is dangerous. You should be even more direct and insistent. Maybe she can get a locking pill container for all her stuff? Not the butthole. Our daughter has never tried to play with them before yet is missing. I know from experience, I'm surrounded by quite a few as friends are at that age, little kids' interests can change on the daily and or even minute. All it takes would be 1 second thinking mommy likes to eat this. It must good and next minute, you're calling for help as you try to forcibly expel the medicine. Can also attest, child-proof lids are not often attached to child-proof containers. Friend's kid once found it was funny to jump on top of medicine containers to break them. Am I the butthole for removing a blind classmate from my group? During my first year in college, we had a blind classmate. We always made sure she was involved by assigning her parts when we had pair/group works. The tasks were something she could handle. We asked her first if she could do it. However, her work was often wrong, so we had to redo her parts. At first, we accepted them and explained the errors. She said she'd do better next time. We told her it's fine, but she should ask us for clarifications. Her mom talked to us about this matter. She told us it's probably because someone was doing her tasks for her. We thought it's unfair and suggested to let her do her parts, so she'd learn and not be too dependent. She laughed it off and continued to pay someone. With that, we decided to return her work and pointed out the mistakes. During our last term, we had to write a research paper. She was grouped with me again. I was stressed out since my group for this sucked so much. I only had one member I could rely on. Regardless, I still gave her a simple task to be considerate. The task I gave her was to write the limitations of our study. I explained everything to her that all she had to do was to organize them into paragraphs. I even voice messaged her the details and instructions. She and her mom kept saying they got it. Hence, I let them work on it while I was busy with other parts. However, when they finally handed me her part, it was word for word copied from another study. I was so done and angry that I didn't reply to them. Instead, I went to our professor to ask if I could remove her from my group and just give her a special task or something. My professor agreed to take care of it after I told him everything. I basically snitched on her, but I couldn't care less back then since I was barely surviving the term. I didn't hear anything from her mom, but my classmate was still friendly toward me, so I thought we're good. But, one day, the mom visited us with thank you gifts. She gave everyone presents except me. I was so embarrassed when she walked past me. Some of my classmates were also dumbfounded since I was the one they used to message and call when they have questions. Moreover, they began sharing/posting self-pity stuff on Facebook. Their comments under those posts were also indirectly about what I did, so I muted them as I was starting to feel guilty. Not long after, my classmate stopped messaging me as well. This made me felt so bad about what I did, but my friend said I wasn't wrong. I believed her. Now, 2 years later, one of my friends sent me a screenshot of the Guardian's comments about my blind classmate stopping college because she was traumatized after her classmate, me, treated her like SH and made her feel worthless in her first year. I kept telling myself I wasn't wrong, but when I tried to remember what I did, I couldn't help but feel like crap and think I'm one of the reasons why she stopped. Am I the butthole here? Not the butthole. Yeah, they are blind, but plagiarism would have gotten you an F and possibly suspended or expelled. And that's what happened. You didn't pick them out of the group to be mean to. Their work was shoddy at best. Not the butthole. Frankly, if this ex-classmate is still bad-mouthing you 2 years after the incident, in which a professor, not you, took action against her, I'd wonder if you have a legal case against her for slander. Not the butthole. You accommodated her disability by giving her a task that should have been within her capabilities. She chose to cheat. That's not on you. It sounds like mom is super overbearing and that's part of her problem. She was used to being treated with kid gloves and at one sign of adversity she stopped? Yikes. That child needed to get out from under mom and grow on herself. Am I the butthole for basically doing a coup in a school club to become president? I, 19 male, am part of a CS club in college. I joined the club in my freshman year and I'm arguably the one who contributes the most. I'm the first to suggest new ideas, I know the most about CS amongst the members, around 50, and I've led lots of successful events. Last year I was elected to become VP, and I wanted to become president last semester. The issue is that despite me clearly being the most qualified, I ran into issues with the outgoing president. She said I was bad with delegation and that I also tend to be authoritarian in my leadership style. I honestly don't really dispute any of these, because I know I feel very passionately about doing something the way I want, and if I must behave in an authoritarian way to get good end results, so be it. I ended up losing president and was re-elected to VP. Turns out the outgoing president talked crap about me during deliberations and turned people against me who previously could only see the result of my work. 2 other candidates became co-presidents instead, and they're far less qualified and have barely done anything. Outside of this club, I'm also an RA for a college dorm, and my director really likes me because my work and dedication carries over to my RA position too. He gave me an offer to return as an RA next year but for a nice, newly built dorm that's incredibly competitive to get into. Many people in the club want to live there, so I came up with an idea. Our college allows students to create living communities in the dorms for people with shared interests to live together. My director was hesitant about doing it in the new dorm, but I managed to convince him on my track record. When students choose their dorms for next year, they can apply to become part of the community, with max 30 people. Usually, my director would read applications and interview, but he trusted my judgment and left that to me. This is the part where I might be the butthole. I presented this to the club, and I emphasized that I couldn't make any guarantees, but I would be the one largely reviewing the applications. Around 40 people from the club excitedly applied and so did the 2 co-presidents. I sent a contract to the applicants, and one of the terms was that if they're selected, joining the community also meant voting for me as president next year. The contract was essentially the ballot. I said my director wanted this assurance so that he could be confident that he didn't need to coordinate with anyone but me. He didn't really say this, and I just did it so I could be guaranteed the presidency. Nobody except the co-presidents and a few other VPs objected, and I said that nobody was forcing them to join the community if they didn't want. I ended up accepting most of the people who applied from the club, ensuring I would get a majority vote for the presidency, and I rejected the co-presidents and VPs because I didn't want to create any power struggles next year. Am I the butthole? You're the butthole. You're a liar and manipulated everybody involved to get what you want. When the director finds out, I'm positive you're getting kicked out of the dorm and probably out of the club. It would serve you right. You're the butthole, you absolutely abused your position. The word for that is corruption. You used your position as the person looking at applications to ensure that you would get votes for something completely unrelated. You basically proved the outgoing president right by engaging in super sleazy, underhanded campaigning based on exploiting your role as the applications processor. You couldn't win in a fair election, so you cheated. You're 100% the butthole. You're the butthole. This reads like it was written by any historic authoritarian narcissist. It's a university club, not political office. If you don't learn to play nice with others, you will be responsible for destroying the club because everyone wants to get away from the authoritarian president. I'm calling bullcrap on you being the one reviewing housing applications. The university is not going to open itself up to that kind of liability. You make it sound like voting for you is written into the housing application. Bullcrap. The wording of those contracts, including the community housing, was set and approved by university lawyers before you even hit campus. Nor would housing let you open them up to lawsuits from rejected housing applicants. You're the butthole for trolling. Am I the butthole for snapping on my sister-in-law about an inheritance that was never rightfully hers to begin with? Hello. This is my first time posting to Reddit, so I apologize for it being a lengthy post. My brother-in-law, 30 male, and my husband, 29 male, have always had a strained relationship due to their childhood, how they were raised and their difference in disabilities. This has led to my brother-in-law having an issue with their mother and constantly talking bad about her to the point where it blatantly shows that he hates her from the bottom of his heart and in turn has a massive amount of hatred for his brother due to their upbringing and such. One brother was taken care of more than the other due to the severity of their disabilities. I ended up on the phone with my brother-in-law's wife, 31 female, who informed me that her husband wants nothing to do with his niece that his brother and I are expecting to be arriving at the beginning of next year. I, 28 female, always thought that my brother-in-law and I were on good terms for years since I always asked him not to let the negativity he has for his brother drop down to the child, and he agreed that it shouldn't. Now for some reason he changed his mind and only seems to want to do more harm than good. I just don't understand why the kids have to be hurt in this situation. My brother-in-law and his wife have multiple kids together, and my husband has been involved in the children's lives this whole time. I was also informed by my brother-in-law's wife that she can't wait for mother-in-law to pass away so that her husband can receive all of the money from her death since they gave her the most grandkids. I ended up snapping at her saying that it's not the mother-in-law's job to provide for her family, it's her husband's, and I think that it's very disturbing that her and husband thought that way. I also told her that she has no right to bank on an inheritance that was never hers to begin with. It is only my husband and brother-in-law's inheritance. She got upset with me when I pointed out will and estate laws, since she seemed to think she had some sort of legal standing in a courtroom to contest a will without her husband. There is so much to unpack and I just don't even know where to start and end. Am I the butthole for snapping on my sister-in-law about an inheritance that was never rightfully hers to begin with? Everybody sucks here. Neither you, your sister-in-law, her husband, or yours have any standing here. Your mill will decide what to do with whatever money she leaves at the end of her life. If the four of you can get along no better than illustrated in this post, then just stop interacting. Not the butthole. Commenting that you can't wait for someone to die is awful, regardless of the circumstances. You calling out that bullcrap is a good thing. Not the butthole, but no one rightfully inherits anything just because they are a relative. If a parent has a legal will, he can designate where their money/estate goes when they pass. If a parent wants to designate an organization, that's their right. A child isn't legally entitled to inherit anything by default, unless there is no legally binding will, then laws would dictate how an inheritance is split. Have the brothers spoken to the parents to see where they stand legally when the parents pass? Perhaps your in-laws will designate the local humane society as their will recipient, since it sounds like there's a lot of turmoil brewing in the family and homeless pets would be more grateful. Not the butthole. You don't have to get drawn into a pointless argument though. Next time the topic comes up you can say something like that's not how I understand estate laws, or that's really not for me to comment on, that is Mill's business. Congrats on the baby on the way, and be sure to surround the baby with people who love her/him. If that's not your bill, and it doesn't seem like it is, it's much better for the baby if he stays away. Edited for typos and punctuation. Am I the butthole for refusing to buy Christmas gifts for my stepmother? Throwaway. I, 16 female, have parents that divorced 3 years ago because my mum came out as gay. It was a huge shock to my whole family since there had never been any signs, and my mum handled it very badly. She had no patience with anyone, and when my dad discovered she had been in a relationship with another woman for almost a year prior, she accused him of being homophobic and left. Our family was no contact with her for 2.5 years, until I received a wedding invitation in June to her and the same other's women's wedding. I didn't go, but I learnt that women had 2 kids, 8 and 10, and my mum was living with them now. The therapist I started seeing when they divorced suggested that I start trying to make her part of my life again, so over the last few months I visited a few times and tried to forgive her. The woman she married was very snarky with me, never really talking to me and always making remarks about my family. The kids were nice, but when she saw me playing with them she pulled them out of the room and didn't let them go near me again. A few days ago, my mum messaged me a list of presents each person would like, that being her wife and the 2 kids, and told me they had a $50 minimum for each person. I told her I was happy to get something small for the kids, but there was no way in hell I was spending a single cent on her wife. She called me and started screaming at me, saying she was my stepmother and I needed to stop being so mean to her. She then asked me if I would do that to my father, and I replied saying no, I wouldn't, because he's the parent I actually care about. I hung up on her and she sent me dozens of messages, calling me a selfish brat among other worse things. I didn't think I was in the wrong, but some of my friends told me that she's my mother and I need to get over myself and accept them as part of my family, and now I'm not sure. Am I the butthole? So 4 people times $50 is $200 for a 16-year to buy presents. Number 16 years don't have to get people anything like that in the first. The fact that your mother is putting a price tag on love is not okay. It's definitely not okay to do that to someone that is a child. I think you should talk to your dad about what has happened at yours and tell your therapist. This not acceptable behavior from an adult. You're not the butthole, but your mom and stepmom are. You are 16. Why in hell is your mother sending you a wish list with $1 minimum? That's a bold move for someone who abandoned her kid. Not the butthole. At all. New stepmonster doesn't earn squat. Not the butthole. It's unreasonable to impose a $50/person minimum on a 16-year-old. I'm sorry your mother is treating you this way. Please focus on taking care of yourself. If that means distancing yourself from your mom, this new household she's part of, and the chaos/stress of it all, then so be it. Not the butthole. Your mom is toxic to you right now. Your mom is a cheater just because it was with someone of the same sex doesn't give her a pass. It doesn't make your dad homophobic because he wasn't okay with being cheated on. Her coming doesn't make any of her horrible behavior okay. She is parent and it doesn't sound like she has been behaving like one for a while now. For your own mental health it may be best to go back to no contact. She is an adult and her reactions to you saying you don't want to buy a Christmas present for the woman betrayed your father with is okay. Am I the butthole for refusing to buy my mother-in-law a Christmas present? Me, 23 female, and my husband, 25 male, only have one bank account, so we share all of our money evenly. Typically, for Christmas, my husband buys a few gifts for me, but otherwise I buy the gifts for all of my family and his. 2 years ago, my mother-in-law called me nearly in tears and told me that they had accidentally broke the TV in their living room, and if they had to buy a new one, they wouldn't be able to buy presents for their kids and it would ruin their Christmas. My husband comes from a really big family, so his oldest sibling is in his 30s, and the youngest is just starting middle school. My husband and I really wanted to do something nice for her, so I picked out a huge smart TV and spent about $300 on it. It was a lot of money for me at the time, but I just wanted to make them happy. My mother-in-law opened it and then asked me where her present was, since the TV was more a present for the kids than her. I was mad, but I got over it. Fast forward to this summer, I noticed that there's no TV in their living room. I asked my mill where the TV went and she told me that the kids were fighting over it, so she gave it away to one of my husband's brothers, who we don't even have a relationship with for good reason. I was pretty annoyed by this and I think it was kind of obvious. I mentioned that I had to work 2 full days to buy her that TV, and she said no amount of money was worth the aggravation it was causing her when the boys fought over it. I decided that it was a gift to her, and she can do whatever she wants with it, but I'm not buying her any more gifts. How can I trust that whatever she asks for she won't just give away? My husband asked what I was buying for her and I told him I wasn't getting her anything, and he said that wasn't fair and that I shouldn't be petty or stoop to her level. If I am going to bring gifts for anyone else, I have to get something for her, but I really don't want to. Am I the butthole? Duh. If he wants her to have a gift, he can put in the effort and get it himself. Not the butthole. Period. You did something so absolutely generous for her, and she didn't even have the courtesy to ask you if you wanted it back when she decided that she no longer wanted it. Yes, okay, you gave it to her as a gift and yes, it's hers to do with what she wished, but there is a difference between something small and inexpensive being given away and a $300 TV. So yet again, not the butthole. Am I the butthole for telling my parents that my younger sister does not get to control me? My 19 male sister, 17 female, is annoying and controlling. So we all have chores in the house assigned to each person. I clean upstairs, my sister cooks, my mom cleans downstairs, and my dad cleans the bathrooms. Because she cooks for all of us, she thinks she is sustaining the family. She talks about how important her task is and how unimportant mine's are. Sure, we need to eat and we can live if the floor is unvacuumed or trash is lying around, but that does not discount my contributions. Additionally, she scrutinizes every mistake I make. I'm in my 2nd year of biomedical engineering, and taking hard courses. I got a C in one of them, and it's my first C. My parents are disappointed, especially since I'm out of state and they're paying my tuition. And now my sister is saying that she's the better child because she has all A's. I also had all A's in high school, and I explained that differential equations is a beast. She says that she would get an A in the course, and said that it was my fault I failed a course, which I did not in fact. And she deliberately embarrasses me. I've done some pretty shameful things as a kid, and she brings them up over and over again around my parents. Those things happened when I was under 10, and now my parents are using this as justification for why I'm incompetent. She also records my conversations with my friends. Like I'm in my room chatting on Discord, and sometimes we say goofy stuff, or talk about more personal stuff like love lives. I don't even hear her walking up to my room, and I only know she was recording because she shows my parents the recording. And then I get unfairly confronted for my inside jokes with my friends others won't understand, or having a crush on someone at my college. She also chats with her friends and talks about stuff my parents wouldn't be so happy to hear, and when I record her to give her a taste of her own medicine, my parents get mad at me for recording her, saying that I must respect her. I point out that she invades my life by recording me, but they say that it's for my own good. Well, now my sister thinks that she is superior to me, and my parents let her act that way. They literally said I should drop out of college and wait until she starts college, and then I go to college with her and start over in architecture, her major plans, so that she can take care of me and monitor me almost 24/7. My dad said it was a mistake to give me so much independence, being alone at college and studying biomed, which according to him I failed. He suggested I should just drop out and apply to college in the same year as my sister as an architect major. I refused, saying that I can survive independently, and that my sister does not get to control me, and that I do not want to undo my hard work the last year and a half. Ever since it happened this morning, my parents stopped talking to me, my sister gives me dirty, arrogant looks non-stop, but won't say a word to me, and my parents quarreled non-stop. Run. A teenage sibling being arrogant and ignorant is par for the course, but your parents enabling that and belittling you is freaking atrocious. Find people who respect and encourage you. I'm sorry you're going through this. Not the butthole. Normally I am not one today involve outside family and family problems. However, in this circumstance, if your grandparents or aunts and uncles knew about this, would they back you up? In some cultures the parents would be ashamed of themselves for being scolded by the grandparents. Am I the butthole for requesting that my wife cleans up after herself? I, 28 male, married my wife, 23 female, who we'll call Danny, about a year ago, and we were very lucky to get pregnant soon after. Danny is in her 3rd trimester now and on pregnancy leave. Once we got the good news, I started working extra hours in order to save more money for when the baby gets here. This means that I have to get up extra early every morning to get to work. I try to be out the door by 6 a.m. I get home a little later and I'm usually pretty beat, but I still contribute to the house by doing dishes, cleaning up after the cat, 'cause she can't, that kind of stuff. This new routine has been hard on both of us, but we've made it work and so far everything has been fine. That is, until the other day, when I wake up to Danny crying. We only have one bathroom, which is downstairs, and lately Danny has been having a little more trouble going up and down the stairs. This usually went fine, but this time she didn't make it. So, when I came downstairs, I found her, in tears, standing in her own mess. She was clearly very embarrassed, and even more so that I caught her. I immediately felt bad for her, and tried to comfort her and told her it's all good, it can happen to anyone, just clean it up and we'll go back to bed. She asked me if I could help her, but I told her that that made me uncomfortable. I would never expect anyone to clean up after my mess. To be honest, it has happened before when I had a couple too many beers, but I always clean up after myself, and it would feel weird to ask Danny to do it for me in that situation. She got really mad and called me insensitive for making her clean up after herself after an already embarrassing enough situation. I proposed a compromise. She would clean up the mess, and I would get her clean PJs, since I'd just done laundry anyway. She asked me if this is what it was going to be like if the baby made a mess, and I told her I would be perfectly okay to clean up after the baby, since it can't clean up after itself. I then told her I didn't have time to stand there arguing with her all night when I had to get up in like 3 hours to go to work and provide for us. So, I walked upstairs, grabbed her PJs for her and went back to bed. The next morning when I got downstairs, I found her on the couch. She told me that she barely slept and felt horrible about the night before. She called me in butthole and said that by not helping her, I only embarrassed her more. She then told me she would be staying with her mom until I got my crap together. It's been half a day now, and she's not responding to my texts. I talked about it with a few coworkers and I'm getting mixed responses, but I just want to make sure. Am I the butthole? Edit 1. So after about 5 hours, most of y'all seem to agree that AITA. Danny's coming home tonight to pick up some stuff, so I hope we'll have a moment to talk it out then. I'll take you guys' verdict into account going into the conversation. I did see some people who would see my side of the story, so I do hope she'll take that into account too. We'll update soon. Honestly dude, you're the butthole here. Man up and help out the woman who is actively carrying your child. You pissing yourself when you're drunk is not even remotely related to your pregnant wife struggling to move fast enough to get to where she needs to go. If it happens again, help her out. For now, I just apologize and acknowledge her feelings. Hold up. You told your coworkers about your wife soiling herself? OMFG. And the fact that a woman in her 3rd trimester would have a really terrible time kneeling and getting back up off of the floor? OMFG. You're the butthole. You're the butthole. She is in her 3rd trimester. You should have helped. You also need to figure something out so she doesn't have to go up and down stairs in the middle of the night, but she may have figured that out for herself by moving to her mother's. I don't know, it goes against the grain of the comments here already, but my judgment is you're the butthole. Just because she is capable of cleaning up after herself, doesn't mean she has to and that you couldn't have helped. Now I've never been in this particular situation, but there have been plenty of times where my partner and I will clean up each other's vomit in situations because we have empathy and feel bad for each other. Yes, we could make them do it themselves because they got 2 feet and a heartbeat, but there is a sense of love and compassion there. It's in sickness and in health, dude. If you can't do that, maybe she is right to question her status raising a child with you. Edit to add, to everyone saying NTA, please get on your hands and knees with a large hard beach ball over your stomach and clean the floor. Thanks. Am I the butthole for denying my daughter's claim of me having a favorite child? I have 2 children, 28 and 23, both girls. My oldest was born with a disability and I naturally felt more protective over her. For example, my ex-wife, oldest's mom, and I placed her in special education because she was struggling in high school due to her disability. She graduated with a special diploma. My youngest, current wife and I's kid, was dual enrolled in high school and graduated with a regular diploma and all her college gen eds done. My oldest eventually went on to get a GED and is currently enrolled in college. During high school, my oldest's disability was harder for her to manage, so what we would do is monitor her and give her a curfew. If her medical condition was acting up, we would not allow her out for safety purposes. My oldest is angry that my youngest got to go out and party late at night with friends during her high school years. However, my youngest has no medical conditions that could put her at a disadvantage if something were to happen while she was out. A few years ago, my oldest became depressed and stopped eating. She lost a lot of weight and was 120 at 5 feet 7 inches. I got concerned and told her she's on the way to an ED and is too thin. Last year, her younger sister who was in college sports was 118 at 5 feet 6 inches, but she ate a lot and did not exhibit signs of an ED. She was not purposely avoiding eating. She was active in sports and burned everything off. My youngest is engaged to a man who's nice to her and the family, which is important. My oldest dated a guy last year who was nice to her but was rude to the family whenever we invited him to dinner. I got concerned because I didn't want my oldest to end up with an unstable guy. One day him and my youngest got into an argument. I texted my youngest that night, telling her that her older sister's boyfriend is toxic and it's only a matter of time until she realizes that and dumps him. My oldest snooped through my texts and got pissed. I told her I was concerned about her being with someone who seems abusive. She ended up dumping him because one day he yelled at her, my worst fear. Now she's dating a guy who's nice to her and the family. One day the topic of her younger sister's upcoming wedding came up. I'll be contributing $8,000. My oldest has been talking about how much better her boyfriend is than her ex and they're talking about the future together. I told her I'm so happy for her but to please not rush into marriage because after her sister's wedding I'll be broke until I can save up again. She asked why her younger sister is getting a big wedding. I said it's common for people that age to want big weddings. Also, she's getting married before my oldest, so it's a matter of timing and how much money I have. I didn't expect my youngest to get married before my oldest. My oldest is about to graduate college and I'm so proud of her. What saddens me is she said I have favoritism, but I denied it. I had no choice but to be more careful with my oldest because of her medical complications. Am I the butthole? Nothing seemed too bad until that last part of the marriage, you're the butthole. It doesn't seem like she was asking for money, so to go out of your way and say, hey, just remember I'm spending all this money on your sister and can't do the same for you, so how about you put your plans on pause for now, is odd to mention. You're the butthole. I don't know much about the disabilities you've said your oldest has, but assuming you were following the recommendations of her medical professionals, then you were doing your best. However, you've got to understand how your oldest would feel about the differences between how she grew up versus how her younger sister did. And that's not your fault, but you could be a little more sensitive and understanding about how she feels, because it's not her fault either. What really did it for me was the wedding thing, though. Greater than she asked why her younger sister is getting a big wedding. I said it's common for people that age to want big weddings. Your oldest is 28, not 48. And you should have planned better for this. You knew you had 2 kids. If you were planning to contribute to their weddings, you should have come up with a fair system. Just because one is older doesn't automatically mean they'll get married first, and giving away all the money you can spare to the younger daughter, then blatantly telling your oldest that you can't pay a fair amount to her wedding anytime soon is just a reminder to her about how different her and her sister have always been treated. And this time, the unfair treatment is totally your fault.